ugly.
Yeah.
You know how
can't
you
put
get
one-
something that...
Yeah. Only
No,
you.
you can't fool an old head.
That's what I was going to say. Another passes by.
Old hen.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I had tough feelings.
Ma,
Ma.
Ma,
Ma.
Ma,
You have to yell. You
over
have to
here,
yell.
mother,
He
here.
wants to make a toast or something.
Oh.
All right. First of all, I want to thank you all for taking the time to come out and celebrate this wonderful milestone with my amazing mother. She's 90 today, and I knew she'd make it to 90.
She'll make it to 100.
I can't hear a thing.
Yeah,
All right. She's going to talk really loud because she
need
thinks
to
I'm
hearing
going to be
aids.
voicing it. Can you hear me now? All right, I'm going to look at you so you can read my lips too. All right, so there's a song that was written by a band called Mike and the Mechanics. And the song is about, it's called In the Living Years. And the song is about how he could not or did not take the time to tell his father how much he loved him when his father was alive. When my father passed away, the day we were at the services, I could not.
Oh, party
Can
foul.
everybody please turn their cell phones off?
Oh, God.
No, we'll just record it. We'll give it to her later.
Before we could wait.
The day we had the services for my father, I could not say a word. I was absolutely crippled. We all were at the time. It was very devastating to our family. So I made a vow to myself that at some point, and this is probably the best time to do it, that I want to say to my mother, in her living years, what she's done for me and what she's done for this family. Now, Mom took her time after Dad passed to grieve. I don't know how long it was. It was a couple of years. And she was very heartbroken, as we all were. Then one day, pulled herself up by her bootstraps, learned how to drive a car, never drove a car before, went and got her license on her own.
To our surprise.
To everybody's, we were dumbstruck by it.
Excuse me. When I walked in the house, I had my license and I had a little car. And I put that on the table. They all freaked out.
She put on one. Okay, go ahead.
So when she told me that, I said, "That's great, Mom." And we were dumbstruck. And I said, "Just let me know the days you're driving so I'll make sure I'm not out at the same time."
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Now, so
Cheap shot.
So lessons that she has taught me is that my mother's a survivor.
Yeah.
My mother was a survivor when my mom and dad decided to pick up the family and put them in the back of a 1955 Buick Special and drive across the United States to unknown territory on an adventure that they did not know how it would end. But even as a kid, I knew that we were headed for something much better and we were going to have a fulfilled life. And with the little amount that they had, they were able
$600.
$125 a week is what my father was making at the time. They were able to put food on the table. We bought this home.
Which I told Dad I hope it's pink, and it was.
I bought the pink house, just like John Mellencamp. And they raised two kids, and I had the greatest childhood you could ever imagine. But what she really taught me she really taught me work ethic. She told me about survival skills, and she taught me about family. So I just want to raise a glass to this amazing woman. And I also want to thank my aunt and uncle for taking this time to come out from the East Coast to spend time with my mother. And Mom, I can't tell you how much I respect you and how much I love you. And thank you so much for everything you've done for my kids. When Dad was ill, you know, we had babies and you were there for us. You've always been there for us. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, how much I respect you, and how much I love you.
To the rock.
Yay!
Hey, bravo, bravo.
All right, we're going to eat a little while. Yeah, go, Jim.
I'm going to make her cry.
I'm going to make you cry. Because she's been through lots. We didn't have an easy family. New York life was tough.
And my mother made my sister do things without asking. Right, Louise? Can you hear me?
No, probably not. You have to yell.
I mean, my mother went to work 5:30 in the morning, and I'm in the house by myself. And Louise had to come down and make sure that I eat breakfast. I never could make a goddamn tie knot in my life. Do you remember making tie knots for me?
I raised him.
God,
I raised him.
I couldn't do it.
Oh, good job.
So she just did a lot of stuff that, you know, people just don't do anymore. And she didn't hold it against anybody that she was forced to do these things. And God only knows what she went through when she was a teenager, because there was 6 of them back then before this little brat was born. And I know she was tough on all of them. But we lost a brother in World War II, and you were home. I've just recently found out that, just last week, I'm not making it up, that back in those days they didn't have the military come to the door and say you lost your son or daughter. They slipped a black letter under the door. Do you remember that black letter?
For Dominic?
For Dominic when he died? You don't remember it. Well, I was
I was working in a defense plant.
Yeah, I remember that. No, I don't remember it. I know you did. But supposedly the story was
I
that
don't
she
remember
received that letter under the door. Can you imagine a young girl like that, and then telling my mom what that meant?
How old was she around that, do you think?
I probably in her 20s, maybe, or a teenager.
What was that?
When Mickey died.
Oh, I was 17.
And it changed, you know, the family life after his death. But Louise had a wedding when she got married. I was telling Joe, Debbie last night, do you remember the cream puffs? Okay? In the basement, she gets married because there was no wedding halls back then.
There was no wedding cake.
No wedding. There was nothing.
There was one Dinas, they used to call them. A tray.
A tray.
Cookies.
Yeah,
Cookies and
cookies. Everybody made Italian cookies, and then everybody
Just
made...
like in The Godfather.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then everybody made these little torpedo sandwiches with provolone and
Oh, yeah,
Oh my God.
we were making sandwiches the morning I got married. Bologna and salami.
And my Uncle Rich was a musician. We talked about music. He was a sax player, had a little trio. We're in a basement of a house now, right? Finished basement. And he's playing this. And all of a sudden, the guy on the other end says, "Hey, give me a provolone." And the sandwich goes across the room. And it became the football wedding. That's what they were known as. And that was her wedding. That was what my parents could afford, and that's what
We
she
didn't,
got.
you know, in those days there weren't halls that you
No
had a
such
wedding reception.
No such.
Very rarely any of those.
I know.
Everything was a house. Just like not to bring up this subject. Funerals, there was no funeral parlors.
in the
You
house.
had the funeral in the house.
Wow.
They're all too
Talk
young.
about close to home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you didn't want to go in that room a couple days after.
So,
You know, different.
So I just want to say she never complained about anything. That's the one, you know, the thing. Whatever she had to do, she just did it.
Do what you gotta do.
Taking care of my little colicky ass when I was a kid. Come on, I mean, because mom couldn't do it when my brother died. And then you and I used to play a lot of cards. You remember, Louise? We played a lot of cards. Do you remember we used to play cards?
We used to play games.
All the time.
The Ouija board.
All that stuff.
What did he tell you?
You're gonna live to 95.
Yeah. No.
Because I got
I'm
the
gonna
tickets.
become a millionaire. So I gotta live till 95.
Maybe that's where you're gonna get it.
Well, there is no doubt in my mind she will be with us when she's 100. 95 is your next stop. You're on the train, okay? Next stop, 95,
Yeah.
and then 100.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we'll all be here.
Hey.
Yes.
Louise,
Another party.
Louise, we're gonna have to surprise you. We're coming. You can't be here.
Yes, I don't.
And that's about all I want to say. Just love you to death. She's been a great sister.
Me too.
Great sister.
Okay, now it's my turn.
Uh-oh.
Now I'm going to
You notice how she laughed when I was talking.
You always put a smile on her face.
Good brother, Joe.
Good son.
Okay. You know I love you to death. You've been there for what I've been through for the past 2 years. And I don't love you for that. You didn't betray me or think anything bad of me.
She can make the first line.
She's a good mama.
You are my rock, and you always will be. I love you to death. You've been the best to your grandkids, to everybody. You're there for us always.
You're a good daughter.
Yeah, and I've tried to be there for you always, like you were for me. In elementary school, you would come and bring my lunch because you know how I am to this day, how I am with food. And you would make sure you would sit there and make sure I would eat my lunch. I just want to tell you I love you. That's all I can tell you. Okay. Yay.
And you've been a wonderful daughter.
I hope so. I hope so.
So, you know, did
Right here.
Give me your photograph.
I like them. Where is he? Right here.
Give me your butt.
No, I'm not even hungry.
Sorry.
Are you looking for the cheese, Jim?
Go with me.
I'm trying to get ready.
What about you?
I will.
All right.
Oh, where's the camera, Judy?
On the table.
Please, where is it?
On the table.
Happy birthday,
No, you gotta blow him
How
out.
what?
It's not here, honey.
Make
a wish and blow him out.
Jim, it's in your pocket.
No,
It's in your pocket. I gave it to you outside.
no.
Yeah.
Can you
You
bend
would
or do
expect
you
me to
want
blow
Put this
those
on
out?
the table.
That's the
I
camera.
want the regular camera.
I gave it to you after I took it out of my purse.
Okay.
Where's Dee and Talia?
Okay, I'm right here.
Talia?
Oh, there you are.
Why don't you guys help Ronnie blow out the candles?
Yeah, somebody help me.
And I know.
Watch the shirt.
Oh yeah, thank you. Ready?
Well, don't give away
Can you
any
bend it
secrets,
all?
huh?
Yeah.
Do you want me to lift it up?
I think so. Wait.
Okay, I got you.
No, I can't bend.
Okay. How about we
Hold
do
it
this?
up. Hold it up. Yeah,
Okay,
bring
Put it on
it
this
in.
table. Want to set it up on here?
Oh, for Christ's sake!
Don't make a big deal out of this.
No, it's too late.
Too late.
Ready?
Too late.
Go ahead.
1,
2, 3.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I'm kidding.
That was all you, Donnie. You did it.
One breath.
Oh, God.
That's all I took. One breath.
She yells at me, you need to be away.
You yell at her, so it's okay. She's allowed to yell
I don't
at you.
yell at her.
I don't yell at you.
I don't yell at you. Do I yell at you? When
Yeah.
when do I yell at you?
Poor Deb.
You yell at everybody.
That's right.
Who you are.
Too fucking bad, pal.
Jimmy.
You just spit on my nose.